Ministries, where we teach people how to grow, change, and produce in everyday life. So y'all are in for a good one today. We're talking about faith today. That's what we're gonna end up talking about is faith. And when we look at that little picture there, it's almost like that's what our life kind of looks like sometimes is we feel like we're walking this path out and we think it looks kind of clear where we can see, but down the road it gets a little foggy. And we're thinking like, man, all right, I think I'm walking by faith, but we know there's still a road down there because we would assume that with it being a pathway, but sometimes we don't really know what that looks like. And that's what our faith is sometimes. And everybody goes through those times in life. We say, all right, man, I'm really going to trust God, but I don't really truly believe. You know, you in that quandary where you said, all right, I do believe, but I don't believe. Or, you go through that, and that's acceptable. God's not upset with that, but as long as you keep walking the path, it keeps getting clearer and clearer as we continue to walk this path out. But one thing that I will say, everyone has faith. It doesn't matter who you are, you have faith. It just depends on what you're putting your faith in. Because last night when everyone went to sleep, they had faith that they were going to wake up the next morning. If not, they wouldn't have went to sleep. We might have stayed up all night and be like, oh man, this is my last night. Boy, we're going to make it a good one. But people have faith with that. And then when you go out to your car, you have faith that the car is going to start. So we do have faith and we do believe in certain things. And when you come to church, you have faith that the church was going to be open when you get here. So we do have faith. So everybody has faith. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist or whatever. You do have faith. You just believe in the wrong God. Yeah. And yes, if you're an atheist, you believe in God because you just believe your God might be money, might be power. It might be men or women that you want to chase after and try to conquer, but you have trust or put your faith in something. Yeah. So everybody believes in God. It's just your God is something different. I remember I worked at Alcohol and Drug Treatment Center, and I was sitting in there, and I had to sit in on the meetings and watch the people. And so the guy, one time he said, look, man, he said, just trust and believe in something. And I'm listening. I'm saying, okay, where are you about to go with this? He said, you just need a higher power. And I'm looking like, okay. And I'm not saved at the time, but I'm listening to this. And he said, look, man, the higher power can be your chair. And I looked. And I said, man, no wonder why these jokers on drugs. Because I said, he might be smoking something before he got here. And he's the one teaching the meeting. But he's saying your higher power can be anything. So you can put your faith in anything is what he was saying. And I said, yeah, he's going to go back to the bottle. Because I said, this ain't going to last long. Because, man, like that doesn't even make sense. But this is what your mind starts to tell you when you don't put your faith in the one true living God. That's what your mind tells you. Because your mind tells you, look, once I get all this money, I'll be straight. So you put your faith in money. Steve Jobs died. He was a billionaire. And money couldn't buy him health. So I wonder what he had his faith in. And I'm not saying he wasn't saved because I don't know him. But money couldn't buy him medical. So just think about these things. What are we truly putting our faith in? And what do you want to waste your faith on? Because that's what people waste their faith on, money and people and cars and houses. And that's what we can believe for. That's what we hope for. Yeah. But what my Bible says is without faith, it's impossible to please God. So we have to have faith in God. If not, we're not even pleasing to God if we don't have faith and trust and believe that God has everything under control and all things are working together for our good. So we're coming out of Mark, the 9th chapter today, and we're going to start with the 14th verse. And Jesus had actually just come down he took a few disciples up with him and saw he transfigured himself, and Moses, Elijah, and all them came down from heaven, and that's where they were coming back from that. And if you want to read that part, it's a very good part where Jesus showed a few of his disciples. And I say Jesus had an inner circle. If you saw what disciples he actually revealed some things to. But they were coming down off the mountain, and it was the other disciples kind of sitting there trying to solve some problems without the whole crew. And this is where we pick up at. And it says, when they returned to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd surrounding them. And some teachers of the religious law were arguing with them. When the crowd saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with awe, and they ran to greet him. And then this is what Jesus says, verse 16. What is all this arguing about? Jesus asked. One of the men in the crowd spoke up and said, Teacher, I brought my son so you could heal him. He is possessed by an evil spirit that won't let him talk. Verse 18. And whenever the spirit seizes him, it throws him violently to the ground. Then he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples to cast out the evil spirit, but they couldn't do it. And look what Jesus responds. Jesus said to them, you faithless people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So Jesus was a little upset with his disciples. And you know, I don't know. I don't know if they ever saw this before, but if that's your first time seeing this, you might be in a little odd too. Like, uh-oh, what's happening here? What's going on with this? And so the disciples couldn't heal him. So this is what the father did. So they brought the boy, but the evil spirit saw Jesus. It threw the child into a violent convulsion, and he fell to the ground, wallowing and foaming at the mouth. So the spirit knew who Jesus was. That's what that shows me right there, because when he saw Jesus, he went into a convulsion again. He said, so they recognized who this man was. So look at here, verse 21. How long has this been happening? Those words are read. So Jesus asked this. He said, man, how long has this been happening? And you would think that Jesus would know that, or maybe it was just a rhetorical question, an open-ended question. Like, how long has this been happening? Or how long have you been putting up with what's going on here? Yeah. And Jesus asked the boy's father. He replied, since he was a little boy. So that's a long time. So they just dealt with this. And then the father explains, the spirit often throws him into the fire or into water trying to kill him. Have mercy on us and help us if you can. So man, just imagine that you're a parent and you've been dealing with this for a long time. We had kids and y'all have a kid, and just imagine if you had to go through that with your child. You would almost pay any type of money to get your child healed. But he goes and he talks to Jesus and he says, help us if you can. And when usually for 9 times out of 10, if the father shows up, it's usually bad. Because most things with me, I let my wife take care of the business. But if it's bad enough, I need to be there. Yeah. And so it didn't say nothing about the mother here. So the father is trying to get this taken care of because he's the one that's showing up for this. And so look what Jesus replies to him in verse 23. What do you mean if I can? Jesus asked. I'm like, man, you know who I am? What does that mean if I can? And it says, anything is possible if a person believes. That's what Jesus is telling this man. He didn't say that, look, man, you need to be a Christian for 36 years before you can get this miracle, or have you been baptized, or when was the last time you paid your tithes and offerings. He didn't tell him none of that. He said anything is possible if a person believes. So do we believe? Do we truly believe that anything is possible if we believe? That's what faith is. Belief, trust, loyalty to something. That's what faith is if you look the definition up. But look here, verse 24, and I might go to the ones after this, but I'm going to just finish here for a minute. The father instantly cried out, I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. And that's what I told you a second ago. That's the way we feel sometimes. We say, man, Okay, I do believe. My spirit, everything within me believes, but my flesh is fighting me on this. So do I really believe or don't I believe? Or do I believe or don't I believe? It's like that little devil. You have a devil on each shoulder, you know, or angel on one and devil on the other. And it's like, depends which way you turn, who you hear at the time. And that's the way human nature is. But as we continue to trust and believe in God, our belief and trust continues to grow. Our faith continues to get bigger after we trust in God. And really what's special here is God puts the onus on us. In verse 23, he puts it on us. And when I say he puts it on us, see, it's up to your belief. See, I get to the point where the pastor can't believe for me anymore. Or I get to the point where my mom then can't keep praying for me anymore. I have to get to the point where I believe. Or my wife can't keep praying for me. As good as she does, but I have to believe. And that's what's so special about that verse. Anything is possible to the person who believes. It didn't say anything was possible to the church who believes, to the person. So it becomes personal. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's about a personal relationship that we have with God Almighty. See, my wife and I are married, and the two becomes one as we got married, but it's still about my beliefs. I have to believe. I have to seek after God wholeheartedly. She seeks after God, because you work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. It's not up to how well the pastor does or how many times you go to church. You can go to church every single Sunday and not be a Christian. I see it for myself all the time. And as they say, sometimes you can sit in the car all day you want, all in the garage all day, but it doesn't make you a car. You will never turn into a car. So as a Christian, we have to do some things, and we have to believe in some things that God says, and then our faith continues to grow. Then we can get to the place where we can move mountains, and we can stand in the gap for each other. And then we can build something great together. See, what was so special about the Tower of Babel, if you remember that scripture over there in Genesis, after they were coming off of the flood, they got on one accord. Their faith became so strong that they got on one accord together, and they were able to move mountains. But they had faith. They believed that they could do this. And that's the way we have to get, man. Anything is possible to the person who believes. So what are we going to believe? See, are we going to believe what the news continues to tell us? Are we going to believe what the Word of God says? We're going to have to make a decision. Say, choose you this day whom you're going to serve. And man, we do a real good job at serving the news. We do a real good job at serving CNN. We do a good job at serving Fox. We do a good job at serving those news media outlets, but we will not put our faith in God. And if you want to see your faith increase, go over to Hebrews 11 chapter, and it talks about what faith is and all the patriarchs of faith and what they went through and the different things that they had. But the Bible explains faith like this. Look at this, and it's Hebrews 11:1. This is the way it explains faith. Faith is the confidence that we have hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. So we truly believe that these things are going to come to pass that the Word of God said. See, one thing when you start to walk this faith out, you don't just faith for cars and houses. You don't faith for that. You faith for what the Word has given you. See, we can be real selfish, but we waste our faith so much on us that we don't faith for everything else. We don't faith for people. We don't believe for people. See, we get so selfish in our faith. Like, all right, man, me and my house, we're taken care of. So we need this car, we need this, we need that. But man, we need to have faith for people, to trust and believe that, man, they're coming to the knowledge of God. Good things are going to happen in their life, because we already know good things are going to happen in our life because we're in tune with God. We're in the will of God. So we should have a little bit of faith. So you just need a mustard seed. Just get a little bit of faith, because faith grows. So let me show you right here. These are the kind of some of the takeaways I want you to take away with this. Look at this. And this is the first one. Your faith is a muscle that has to continually be worked. Okay? And just think about that. See, we're never to the point where we never have to faith ever again. But it's a muscle that continues to grow as we continue to walk the path with God out. This muscle will continue to get bigger because it starts off small. Because we're just like that guy's father. Oh, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. See, we're the same way. And so as we continue to walk this out and we continue to gain victories in this process, now we start to faith it more. Now our faith starts to build. Now our faith starts to get more muscles. And the only way your faith gets muscles is if you use it. You have to use your faith. And we have to get a deeper belief in God. And you walk this path out with God, then you start to trust and believe more and more. I didn't just end up here. It wasn't just like, all right, I'm going to start a church. No, man, my faith went through some trials. My faith went through some tribulations. My faith is still going through some trials and tribulations. So that's for each and everybody in here. Your faith will continue to grow. If I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, but if I quit going to the gym, I lose my muscles. Yeah. So if you don't use your faith, you will lose it. But we have to use our faith, because if not, we're not pleasing to God. He wants us to trust and believe him. He wants us to do the impossible things that the world isn't willing to do. So we have to look at it like that. So, all right, so here's the next takeaway right here. Your faith makes you do something. And that's what my wife was saying. Faith without works is dead. So your faith should make you do something. Your faith isn't going to let you just sit in the house all day and never try to witness to nobody, or never try to change anyone's life, or never try to be a blessing to anybody. Your faith will not let you do that. Look, my faith gets to the point now, it says, look, man, if you see a brother in need and have the means to help, go in and help them. Go ahead and help them. And that's where my faith continues to get to and continues to build to. I remember one time I just started my business, and man, we were struggling. I don't even know if I ever told my wife this story. And so I was at Walmart. I'm coming out of Walmart. I had finished bought a couple things, and man, money was tight. And so I had like $60 in my pocket. And it was a guy on the street. I don't know who he was or whatever. Blase. And so what I end up doing is the Lord was like, give him the money. I said, no. Hold on. I didn't hear that right. I'm saying, no, Lord, that's not. I know that's not you. The devil's a liar. But the devil ain't gonna tell you to bless somebody. You know, he's usually not gonna tell you. And so I'm sitting. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like $60 to my name. And I said, all right, I'm gonna give it to him. Gave him the $60. Till that point, it was the best day I had ever had in my barbershop, when I was willing to give that money up and let it release that grip on that money. And I don't know why the Lord was trying and testing me with that, because I don't know if he was saying like, look, man, because if you're faithful with a little, you can rule over much. And see, what ends up happening with that also is that we get to the point where you rather tithe now than worry about the future. Because if you're broke right now, that's a good time to start tithing. Because once you really start to get some money and truly get some money, you're going to be in bad shape. You ain't going to want to tithe then. Yeah. So just think about that. So if you really are in a spot and money does have a hold on you, this is your best time to start now. Don't wait till you be like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait till I have enough money to tithe. So now you get to the place and you really have some true riches, and then, all right, Lord, now your tithe is $5,000. You're like, oh no, I'm definitely not giving that. I'm definitely not giving that. So the Lord was testing me at that time. And true, hopefully I came through. I did come through because he was blessed. He blessed the work of my hands after that. But it was part of it, man. But that's what I'm saying. My faith made me do something. Because I'm thinking to myself, man, if I give this, what I have to lose anyway? It ain't going to meet my bills anyway. So I said, let me go on and get that. Let me go on and get that up. And so, all right, Lord, all right, your word is true. We're going to let you perform this here. And so that's what it was. But here's the last one here. Your processed faith causes a deeper belief in God. And I had to put processed faith on that one because your faith will go through a process. Your faith goes through a process. It's not just fairly simple and easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Nobody would quit if it was that easy. See, so I'm saying your process faith causes a deeper belief in God. Because you just don't get to the place where, oh, Lord, I trust you with everything I have. It's a process you go through. And you work his word to see that it's true. You try that word to see if it works. And that's human nature. That's just the way we are. That's human nature. We say, all right, man, you look, what you do, when you go to the store, you try a shoe on. You just don't grab a shoe usually. You try it on to see if this thing is going to work. Or you try some clothes on. You try your pants on. You ain't just going to sit up here and just put it on sometimes. You be like, all right, let me see. Let me go through this process. Yeah. But once you truly start to believe, you be like, okay, that process works. Okay, man, this is kind of a path that I can take, and I know this is going to end up in a good spot. And so that's what happens when our faith gets processed, and we have to get it processed. And I was thinking, I was telling a guy one time, I said, man, I'm in a pretty good spot, and he was like, man, you got to protect your kids from this, and you got to do this and do that. And I said, yeah, that's cool. But I said, what I taught my kids or teaching my kids need to be tried sometimes. It needs to be tried to see if they're going to truly believe in what decisions they're going to make. Because it's easy to make the right decision when it's going good. Yeah. What decision are you going to make when it goes bad? See, now that's where your faith comes in. See, it's easy to serve God when things are good. Oh, it's easy, man. And, well, I'm saying it's easy, but we don't. That's the time we don't serve. But we usually serve when it's bad. Oh, Lord, help me. Come show up now. I need you. But what you should be doing is growing your faith in the good times. You shouldn't wait till bad times to grow your faith. When things are going good, start to grow your faith. Start to lift some weights then. Start to get those spiritual muscles then when it's going good. So then when bad times come, you have something to draw down on. That's why people save money. Because they like, man, I'm saving this for a rainy day. Just in case something happens, I'm going to have something saved up. That's the same way with our faith. That same way with our faith. So, man, if we have some faith to stand on when bad times come, be like, okay, that'll get me through the times until I can charge up that battery again and to start to press that thing forward a little more. But let me show you this little last part of what happened to the boy. Let me show you this. Let me show you what happened to the little boy here. Verse 25 here. And when Jesus saw the crowd of onlookers was growing, he rebuked the evil spirit. Listen, you spirit that makes this boy unable to hear and to speak. He said, I command that you come out of this child and never enter him again. Then the spirit screamed, threw the boy into another violent convulsion, and left him there. The boy appeared to be dead. So what happened then? So now if you're the father, you're like, man, he killed him. Now I brought my son to get him well, but now he's dead. Jesus killed my boy. Man, they had Twitter back then, boy. They'd have been filming. They'd have been throwing stuff on the TV. I'd be like, dude, he killed him. Because I'm thinking like, man, if that's your child, you like, oh, man, what just happened here? Like, man, that was a bad move, man. The spirit couldn't kill him, but Jesus could. But as you be kind of thinking like, man, what just happened here? But so just the thing is what the father thinks at that time, because, we got the words of what happens here, but just think, man, dude, you're like, oh, man. But then look what it said. But Jesus took him by the hand, helped him up to his feet, and he stood up. So the boy was made whole, even though his father didn't have all the faith he needed. So that's a good sign to us. That's a very good sign to us that we might not be where we need to be, but Jesus is still working on our behalf. We can still be in a good spot, even if we don't truly believe with all our heart. We just need to start somewhere. Yeah. We just need to start somewhere. And as we look out, man, as what's going on out in the world right now, man, it's a rough go. It's a rough go, man, because they throw so much news that you don't know what to believe. You be like, man, so they said this today, they said this tomorrow, they said this. So it's a lot coming at you. But just get in this word and see what the faith of God is telling you to do with the word of God. See where this is pumping and pushing your faith to, or what you're going to truly believe in, or what you're truly going to trust in. Because, man, you don't want to put your faith in any man. I'm telling you there, don't put your faith in any man. Now, it's good to have men that help you and to push you along, but God said he's the way, he's the truth, he's the life. And so that's where we need to put our trust and our hope and our beliefs into. We can't just go out here, man, all right, I'm gonna trust the Democrats, they about to save us, or, you know, I'm gonna trust the Republicans, they about to fix everything I got, you know, or the CDC, they got it all under control. CDC changing up, boy, and they change something new every day, you know. So I'm saying, what are you gonna put your faith in? So as we have built this here, our life, we built Nancy and I's life. Well, I'll just give you a quick story of us. And so as we walk this path out, man, it's been fairly simple now. It's a little easy, but now your faith starts to deal with different things, you know, once you get to a certain spot. But I remember when we used to go out to eat, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we would always try to find somebody that we could be a blessing to. And we would go to restaurants and we would just pay people's bills and leave and say, hey, don't tell them we paid the bill. And just little things like that, to just trust and just believe that, man, we weren't really trusting in our faith or what we were seeing. You know, we weren't trying to walk by what we saw. We were trying to walk by putting our faith in God and not by our sight of what we were seeing. And so as we did that, man, God continued to bless us. He continued to produce us, and he continued to process us through this. But I started my business, and I've never told anybody. This is the first time I ever said this publicly, but we were on government assistance, and I owned my own business. I own my own business. So Nancy will go to the store and pull out her EBT card. Is that what they call it? Food stamps. So she would pull out her card, and I say, man, Lord, I felt ashamed, man, because I'm saying, Lord, you blessed me with a business, and I can't provide for my family. But they were giving us, what, $400 a month or something like that? So it's kind of a quandary. I was putting my faith in them, and I wasn't trusting in God. So it was a seesaw, and the government almost gets you to trust in them and not to trust in God. So I'm like, Lord, all right, what are we going to do? And so I said, all right, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. And so we finally took the step to get rid of it. I said, all right, we ain't doing this no more. We're not doing this no more. And so we did. We went through a process, and it didn't feel good at the time. But our faith was being processed through that time. It was being changed through that time. And that small victory, God continued to start blessing us through that. And it's those little small things that you do. You don't start off in the grand scheme of things or in the symphony. What you start is in the garage band. See, that's where you start at usually. See, you don't just start out on a mountaintop. You start with one step at the bottom, and then you continue to progress your way. And that's the way you continue to work with God, and that's the way your faith in God starts to grow. Then you could change, and then you definitely produce something in this lifetime, and something good, and something meaningful. And that's where we should get to, and that's what we should try to attain to in this lifetime.